are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We're very excited to present we're going to call it like a mid-year assessment on how you're doing this year so far. It's a perfect time to do it. We're going to cover 5 ideas to assess where you currently stand. I'll introduce ourselves in a second, but this is a presentation by Follow Up CRM, where Rachel's from Follow Up CRM, and I'm Brett Kligerman with CDP. CDP is partnered with Follow Up CRM. As you probably know, we're also a business partner with Trimble Spectrum and Vista, and Follow Up CRM is an awesome CRM solution that integrates and works with both solutions. So just kind of real quick introduction. With us today, we have Rachel Goodrich with Follow Up CRM and Sarah Sherlock. And then with CDP, it's me, Brett Kligerman, and Paul Riefenberg. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of GoToWebinar, which is our technology that we're using today to present to you. So a couple things here. We are recording the meeting. You're going to get an email with a link to the recording. Feel free to watch it as many times as you'd like. Share it with your friends, family. It's there for your use. Also, with GoToWebinar, if it's blocking your screen, and I don't know if this is what your interface looks like, but you can minimize it. Also, everybody's lines are muted, so you can hear nice and clearly. There is a question box right here. So if you have a question, just go in there and type in your question, and I will interrupt Rachel and ask her your question. So please feel free to ask. It'll make this a lot more interactive. And then if you have the old style GoToWebinar that looks like this, the question box is under view, questions, and then you can just type your question in there and also hit this little orange arrow to minimize the screen. Awesome. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand it over to Rachel. Remember, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat.
Yes. Thanks so much, Brett. I do not mind being interrupted either. So happy to take the questions as we go, or if there's a particular topic I'm on that you want to drill into. So, but thanks so much for the time, everyone. I am going to do a quick just lead to Spectrum overview, just to give a little bit of context, because many of you probably haven't seen Follow Up or this integration yet. And so I'll start there and just give you how something gets into the system, what that looks like, how we integrate with Spectrum, and then circle back on these 5 ideas to help you with your 2026 goals and reporting and things like that. So with that, I'll go ahead and dive in and share my screen. So here at Follow Up, we only work with construction companies, exclusively specialize in this space. And so what we do is help you from lead to sale. And that's why we have such a good relationship with Spectrum, is because we have a seamless integration that goes back and forth between the 2 systems. So I can have a lead come into Follow Up, I track it all the way through the sales process, and then I'm able to go ahead and send it to Spectrum and then pull some insights back in from Spectrum for my reporting and dashboards that we'll close up with today. So I'm actually going to start in my email because most of you probably, we can see my screen okay, Brett?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So most of you are probably starting your lead flow from either an invitation to bid or a relationship request. And so I want to just show you how easily we get something into Follow Up as a new opportunity lead, and then take it all the way through until we send it to Spectrum. So you'll see this is just a sample bid invitation. I actually have this add-in right here that lives within my Microsoft suite with basically Follow Up opening here on the side. So this is an invitation to bid. I can go ahead and just click new project. It's going to auto enter some of the details of the email. It won't read the whole thing, but it'll put the contact in there. And then I can go ahead and just set this as a lead, click save, and this sends it right into Follow Up for me. So that's how I start my lead. And then I can go ahead and click view in CRM, and that opens me up right here into the lead flow in Follow Up. And Brett, you're seeing my Follow Up screen now?
Yep.
Perfect. So from there, you can see here, I've got all of my different modules across the top. Right here, we're in the projects tab, which is basically my opportunity flow, my bid flow. So this page right here is from lead to sale, Spectrum and back, the one-stop shop where everything about this opportunity lives. And so we can go ahead and begin to nurture this lead, schedule our activities. I can go ahead and put the bid date in here. I can assign it to a particular estimator, which will then send them a notification that they've been assigned to this particular project, or they can assign it to themselves. And we can actually take this all the way through proposal process as well. So we don't do the estimating side. So obviously you'll continue to estimate where you do, but you're able to then plug in your base bid number from here, from the estimate. And then we can continue to take this all the way through and actually plug it into our proposal tool. So we can run our proposal, just give you a quick glance on this, this one right here. We can actually take templates depending on how you do your proposal process. We're able to take templates and upload, whether it's a Word template, an Excel template, quote builder template, however you typically put your proposal together. And this tool just allows you to have multiple different versions of stored templates for either your different types of scopes of work and things like that. And we just auto-populate system information to the proposal, streamline formatting, headers and footers, logos, all that good stuff, generate it as a PDF, and you can get it directly out to the client. So we're just trying to handle that whole pre-sale process and really streamline that for you. So once I get that proposal out, I can continue to move this into my pipeline. This will circle back to as we look at our charts, reporting, and all that stuff. But now that I put this into active bid phase, this puts it as an open bid in my system and in my pipelines, so that this $400,000 is going into my active pipeline, which we'll talk about here shortly. So from there, we can follow up on our job. I can assign follow-ups again, or I can go ahead and schedule those for myself. We have lots of automations tools, but say I go ahead and deliver that on the 30th, I'm then able to schedule a follow-up for the next day or whatever that time frame is, and basically track this opportunity so that it doesn't fall through the cracks all the way through until sale. Once we get to sale, and I'm going to open up my Spectrum environment over here. So once we get to sale, and this is something we do with you in the implementation process, is we actually connect the system together with your Spectrum environment for you. This is already built out of the box with many customers already using this integration. But I basically just have this Spectrum options button on the top of my opportunity. So this allows me to go ahead and connect and push and create this as a job in Spectrum after I've moved it to the one contract status. That will go ahead and create this as a job in Spectrum with any of the fields that I have quote unquote mapped over to Spectrum. And that's part of the onboarding process. We basically can choose any of these fields, whether it's, products and services, type of work, office location or division, if you're working out of many different divisions, contract amount, obviously the customer and the contact information. So we're able to really choose what we want to send over to Spectrum. From there, you can see down here, I actually had the Spectrum job number pull back in because I pushed this project a little bit earlier this morning. So we can actually pull the Spectrum job number into follow-up as well to have that documented here. In addition, we can then, as the job develops over time, pull updates in from Spectrum. So sync updates, meaning change orders. We do integrate with the change order module, any other updates to the contract value, and then most importantly, profitability. So we have the ability to pull in what we call an income cost summary, where we can actually be tracking transactions and income, expense, and profit over the course of this job. Main purpose of this for most of our customers is that if we have a sales team or an estimating team that's in follow-up, but not necessarily in Spectrum, and we want to be able to track, they want to be able to have visibility on the profitability of their jobs to inform future estimating. We really have the ability to pull those things in, use that for reporting, and they're able to see how they're doing on their jobs. That actually auto updates and manually or auto syncs every time I open this opportunity. So that gives you a really brief lead to sale flow. And so now what I want to do is go back and say, what do we do with that? So now that I've trained my team to be using the tool from lead to sale, to be tracking their activities, we even have the ability through that Outlook plugin to track, email conversations and all of your standard CRM things. But then for you as, management, then what do we do with all of these things and how do we use all of this for insights? So the first thing that I want to dive into is your dashboard. And Brett, if there's any questions so far, feel free to interrupt. But this is your dashboard, and this gives me my initial 10,000 foot view. What I'm looking at right here is my total pipeline value. Now, this is actually the first screen that anybody's going to see logging into the system. There's lots of different ways to have it defaulted depending on who's logging in. So you can see I have this set to the company overall because maybe I'm an owner or the CEO, and I want to be able to see the whole picture perspective. So I'm looking at my pipeline. I can see my total dollars in the marketplace of open bids, the number of bids that are in that make up those dollar amounts, and then the stages that they're in. Now, this set of stages is totally customizable. We do this with you in implementation. If you want to have, some of my teams have like 15 stages. Some of them only want 3, right? It just depends, and you're able to modify the verbiage and things to track what makes sense for your entity. But we also have the ability, and I'll get to this for some forecasting, but we have the ability to actually put weighted probability into your stages as well, so that we can then run some calculations and reporting on forecasting based on what's in your pipeline. So I also have my closing ratio here. So you're able to see at a very quick glance what's our win rate for the company overall. Now, I alluded to being able to default this in multiple different ways. So if you have a sales team and you want each of those salespeople to only be able to see their own pipeline when logging in, or maybe they can access everything and it's okay if they see the overall, but you want them to just focus on their own stuff. So when they log in, it's just their own pipeline and their own closing ratio. I can have this defaulted to myself as a user when I log in. Or from a management perspective, if you want to be able to toggle back and forth and see how your team's doing individually, you're able to kind of take a quick glance at that. You see, I have a couple other filters here. We can modify these just depending on your needs. If you don't have multiple office locations, a lot of our teams like to use this field for market sector or industry type that they do work in, and then of course division of your company. So lots of different ways to really easily plug and play this data. Now, we can also drill into this pipeline. So if I want to see, what makes up this 81% of high priority, bids that I have right here, I can actually be able to see what that list is, what that's made up of, who the contacts are, and who the estimators are, who's responsible for that work. And so it's just the ability to kind of interact if I want to be able to see what the budget bids are, quick glance, and just kind of interact with a lot of this here. So from there, so that's kind of your dashboard, kind of idea number one, to be able to see pipeline at a top 10,000 foot view, and then obviously your win rate. Now, we do have the ability to here within the dashboard to look at your goals over actuals. So you can see here, I've got my goals in the gray. Now, these can be segmented by, company overall, individual user, office location. There's lots of different ways we can set these goals. But then you are able to see month over month the goal over actual for bid volume and pipeline for captured contracts, and then sales activity hours, which is actually the follow-ups or the proposals being delivered and the estimates and all those kinds of things, basically the activity that's going to lead to your pipeline and to your result. So idea number 2, if I go here into the projects tab, this is the area where all of my individual leads and projects are. So this Porter Electric bid invitation is the one that we added directly from email at the beginning of this call. But this is basically my bid board. And maybe some of you are on Excel spreadsheets or smart sheets or something, and this view is very familiar to you. We have a couple of other ways to see it, like a Kanban board and things like that. But I want to kind of interact with this for a second, because this gives you a lot of insights. So I have the ability, right now it's just sorted by recent update. And so it's just showing me a list of all my opportunities. But you can see here, I have saved lists all across the top here, just based on what I want to see. And a lot of our teams will use this in maybe their weekly bid meeting or leads review or whatever it is that they have on a regular basis with their team to be able to go through and review some of these things. So there's 3 lists that I want to really focus on here that are really helpful for insights. So I can start with leads. So this just gives me an idea of what are all my leads. I can sort this, and I can actually, you can see that the columns adjusted based on the list that I clicked on. So I can look and I can see, all of this list of leads, and then I can see if they're assigned to somebody. And if they're not, I can go in ahead and just assign from here. and be able to assign that lead, which then sends a notification to that individual that they need to pay attention to this project with a link to the project, and all the details that they need should then be on that lead page. So that's one way. We can just look at all of our leads, make sure they're assigned. We can sort by bid date just to look at priority for a lot of those things as well. And so really easy way to see leads from a quick angle there. Now, we talked about open bids within the pipeline. I also have an open bids list. This gives me a little bit more agility because I had a list and I could see certain details about it, but this really allows me to see whatever I want to see. So namely, follow-ups in the rep that's in charge of this, and then any comments. So I can actually see last comment. So I don't have to click into every project to see the last kind of note on all of these. So this is sorted by all of my open bids, things that are out in the marketplace that we're working on winning, regardless of what status that they're in. And then the last piece is this chase list. This is something that I've sorted based on everything that's in high priority. Namely, because I want to see if there's a follow-up on here. And I can actually sort this by the follow-up column if I want to see what is assigned and what isn't. So if I want to sort by, okay, where's all our high priority stuff that doesn't have follow-ups assigned to it? Who's responsible for them? And how can we get these follow-ups scheduled so that none of these fall through the cracks? Just really narrows down and allows you to get a really good visual on what we need to be chasing and focusing on. Now, I mentioned that we can assign follow-ups right here. So if we're all in our, weekly estimating meeting, we're having a conversation with Gretchen. She's like, oh yeah, I need to, get that in. Let's put it, down for next week. What then happens? How does Gretchen get reminded of that? And this is another kind of accountability tool that is really the third idea, where we can talk about the sales activities, tasking, and how that helps your team. So when I assign this to Gretchen here, it's actually going to go, now there's a couple of different ways it can go. It could send her email reminders. So if Gretchen says, every time I have something due in the system, I'm just a user, I like lots of notifications, I want it to ping me via email for exactly what I got to do. That's totally fine. That's a user preference. They're able to do that. Most of our users, though, are logging in and using this dashboard every single day. So a lot of them like it to go directly to their activities page. So if I go to my activities page here, this is going to be a consolidated list of all the opportunities or the activities that I have assigned to me here in this one place. So I'm going to be able to see, and everything is hierarchically date and time stamped and shows the urgency level based on the color. So you can see here, now this defaults to me since I'm the user selected in, so we can look at Gretchen's dashboard here in a second. But this is showing me that I have 6 follow-ups that are due. You can see the age. This one's 19 days old, so I really got to get on that one. But then anything that's red is either due or overdue. Anything that's showing as green is in the future. So as soon as you assign one of those follow-ups to one of your reps or to somebody within your company, it's going to go onto their activities page automatically, and it's going to filter as needed. So that you as management, if I'm Gretchen's manager, I can come in here and I can take a look at her dashboard and I can see how many follow-ups she has due today, what the age of those are, if they're behind. And then that one that we scheduled for her is going to show as green as upcoming in the future. Now, this does not just apply to follow-ups. This also applies to any other activities that may be scheduled for users in the system. So if I scroll down here, you can see we've got the 24th on there, the one that I assigned to Gretchen on the projects tab. So this does apply to any other activities, just as a side note. So when they need to deliver proposals or handoff meetings, site visits. Now, a lot of our teams with site visits or physical meetings, those can actually push to your Outlook or Google Calendar, depending on what you use. So those can also block out time if needed on somebody's calendar. And then we have contact activities, which is more of the business development side of things, relationship nurturing, all of that, which is a whole nother piece that we handle as well. So this is my outstanding activities. What if I want to look at what my team has accomplished? So this report card is the opposite of what the activities page is, basically a scorecard. And this is a really useful accountability tool. I can, as a manager, just log in here or as an individual, look at my overview, or these can be scheduled as reports on a regular basis, daily, weekly, or monthly, to either go to managers or to individuals just to kind of get a pulse on their work habit within here. So I'm going to do a larger date range here so we can see a good bit of data. But this shows for me as a user in the particular date range that I've set. A lot of our teams run this on a weekly or a monthly basis. This shows me activities over results. So when I expand this, this actually shows me a scorecard of the number of activities that I have accomplished in the system in that date range, what bid volume that led to, and then what contracts were then secured. And so over here, you can see this applies to contact activities and to sales activities. So I can see, proposals delivered. Comments are a really good indicator of use within the system because those include emails, notes, collaboration back and forth with the team, site visits, and then you can see follow-ups, phone calls, breakfast meetings. So this gives you a really good insight as a manager to see the number of activities that leads to bid volume that leads to contract secured. So that's idea number 3, being able to have those things, those tasks and activities tracked, and then be able to get a scorecard on those. Now, a way that we can actually automate a lot of this, because we do have a lot of automations tools here within the system. We can have individuals manually schedule these. We can schedule them for them ad hoc as needed. We also have an automations tool where we can build a number of if-then scenarios. This pretty much ensures that if you have a certain number of systems or processes or checks within your organization, expectations, I guess, would be another good word for it, that those are followed through, and it's not an individual, it's not relying on the individual, it's actually relying on the system to do that for you. So a lot of my teams, a really great example is that in these automations, we can set up if-then scenarios. So meaning these can be event-based or time-based. I'll show you 2 examples, one for each. So an event-based automation would be that a lot of our teams like a follow-up to automatically be scheduled. So that high priority list that I had, 15 different projects that didn't have follow-ups on, that wouldn't happen because the system would automatically schedule a follow-up. So a lot of my teams will say, okay, every time I schedule, let's go back to that Porter Electric that we started earlier. And I can walk through this scenario. So if I have the Porter Electric bid invitation, I deleted that one earlier. Let's go to the active one. If I have that Porter Electric bid invitation that's in my open bids, then I can actually schedule whenever the follow-up takes place. So if I deliver the proposal as a user, let's just say I got it in earlier from the bid date, I delivered this proposal today, and I go ahead and check off that I delivered the proposal. I actually have an automation set within the system that is actually going to automatically schedule a follow-up for me 3 days later. So what this ensures is that anytime any of your reps go and they, do their due diligence, check off, they've sent the proposals, they've delivered it, it makes sure that there's a follow-up scheduled for, and you can set whatever time frame, X number of days later. Another example has to do with my high priority bids. So I can actually set an automation that says, hey, if anything in this chase list that's a high priority bid goes 30 days without being touched or without being updated, automatically email the account manager a notification that says, hey, this needs to be touched. So that's a really good example of a time-based automation as well. So that's another tool. And then lastly, I want to loop back into the dashboarding because we did have the standard dashboards, but we have a whole slew of other reports and dashboards. So if I come here, I'll actually come here first. We have the ability to run any number of different reports. So if we want to be able to see who are my top 5 customers, in a particular date range, let's just say in the last year, I have this client sales history report. Then I can actually run, and this is just a standard, I guess you could call it canned out of the box report, but I can run this and it's going to give me a summary of all of my client sales per client in that particular range. So it's going to show me this. I could also pull this as an Excel doc if I want to filter it by largest to smallest or whatever. So it's going to show me, 2025 and then 2026. And so I can really quickly get a view on all of my clients and who I did best with in a particular time frame. Many, many other reports like that, won contracts, bid lists. I alluded to the forecasting report. We have a standard one that's in here, but then leading to my next kind of piece, which is our custom dashboarding, we have the ability to use any of these data sets in our custom report builder. And our team does a lot of this with you. We can actually build custom reports on the back end and publish them here to this front page. So say you love this particular dashboard, it's helpful to a certain extent, but maybe this doesn't give you the granularity on some of the forecasting that you would like. So I can actually have, and like I said, you have access to build this tool. It's a little more on the technical side. And so our team actually builds a set number of these with you. And you basically simply just articulate, hey, I need these data sets and these particular charts, and we can actually build a dashboard for you ground up. So this gives you an idea of just an example of a forecasting report. I can filter all this by different date range. I can sort it by a particular estimator only, and really be able to see and plug and play and interact with this data in a custom dashboard. This just gives you, obviously we have tons of standard reports, but say you need something that is a little bit more granular, you want to see it in a particular way, you're used to looking at a bar chart or something like that. We have lots of different options where we can kind of tailor that and partner with you on that. And then any of those report types can be published to here and then available for you to be able to view and interact with. So that's what I've got, those 5 kind of ideas and points there. But I'll go ahead and pass it back to Brett for any questions, or we can wrap it up, whatever works best.
So at this point, Rachel, we do not have questions, but that was very informative. And, there are a couple things I can take away from there and apply to my specific sales processes. So I appreciate that. Very informative. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and type them in. We'll chat here for a minute or two if anybody does have any questions. Also, just a reminder, you will be getting an email with the recording. It'll come out in about 6 hours. Also, if you want, and I'm talking for you here, Rachel, but if you want to see follow up in more detail, we'd be happy to schedule a demonstration specifically for your organization. So that's something, Rachel, would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, certainly. Yep.
Okay, awesome.
I think Brett will share my contact info, so anybody can certainly reach out directly.
Absolutely. Awesome. I don't see any questions coming in. That was great. Really appreciate it. We'll probably do another one of these in a couple months, change up the topic a little bit. But Rachel, thank you very much. Very informative. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Look forward to hearing from you. Any feedback, let us know. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Take care, all.
Thanks. Great job, Rachel.
Thanks.